She vanished in broad daylight. A young woman, full of life, simply disappeared. No witnesses, no straggle, no clues. Her family searched tirelessly, hoping, praying, but decades passed without answers. And all the while, the person responsible walked free. Who could do this? Why did it take 35 years to reveal the truth? This is the story of Susan Knorr, a life stolen, a family broken, and a crime that refused to stay hidden. Susan Knorr was 24 years old in 1985, living in a quiet suburban neighborhood in California. Friends and family described her as warm, independent, and intelligent, a young woman with a bright future. She had dreams, small adventures, and plans that seemed ordinary to everyone around her. Susan was careful, but she had a spark, her mother would later recall. She knew how to take care of herself, but she always trusted people, maybe too much. She worked at a local office, where she was respected for her professionalism and reliability. Outside of work, she enjoyed hiking in nearby trails, spending time in local cafes, and reading novels that transported her to distant worlds. She had a small circle of friends, people she trusted, and she was close to her family. But even in ordinary lives, danger can appear unexpectedly. That danger came in the form of Michael Trent, a man Susan had met through a mutual acquaintance. At first, he seemed harmless, polite, quiet, unremarkable. But underneath that exterior, he harbored an obsession that would soon turn deadly. On a bright summer afternoon in late August 1985, Susan left her home to run errands. She wore a casual blouse, jeans, and her favorite sneakers. She promised her mother she would return in an hour, but she never did. At first, her family thought perhaps she was delayed, maybe a friend called, maybe traffic slowed her down. But as hours passed, unease turned to fear. Neighbors noticed that she had not been seen all day. Her phone went unanswered. Police were notified, and a search began immediately. Volunteers combed streets, parks, and alleyways. Flyers were distributed, neighbors canvassed, and tip lines were opened. But no one had seen her. No one could explain what had happened. Her family felt the growing weight of despair. Her father, normally stoic, was pacing the living room in disbelief. Her mother repeatedly checked the front door, hoping that Susan would walk through it, unaware of the darkness waiting in shadows. It was like the world swallowed her, a friend later said. One moment she was there, smiling, talking, the next she was gone. Police questioned friends, co-workers, and neighbors, retracing every step Susan had taken that day. They reviewed her relationships, her routines, her phone calls, even her financial records. But no evidence pointed to anyone specific. Initial suspicions were vague: a stranger, a random attack, perhaps a robbery gone wrong. But none of these theories fit. There was no forced entry, no signs of struggle, no robbery. Susan had simply vanished. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Leads dried up. Each tip turned into a dead end. Investigators noted patterns, but they were inconclusive. Her disappearance became one of those haunting cold cases that police dread, a file that sat on a shelf, waiting for time, science, or luck to reveal the truth. Meanwhile, Susan's family refused to give up. Her mother would keep a picture of her on the fridge. Her father would make calls to anyone who might remember something. They clung to hope, even as years passed. "We never stopped believing she was out there somewhere," her sister said, even when everyone else had given up. It wasn't until decades later, in 2020, that the truth finally emerged. Using modern forensic science, DNA evidence from items recovered during the original investigation pointed to Michael Trent. Michael appeared ordinary, but inside, he was a man consumed by obsession. Investigators later uncovered that he had developed an unhealthy fixation on Susan, unable to tolerate rejection or the idea that she might live her life independently. He couldn't let her go, the police report would state. He believed he had a right to control her, and when she resisted, his rage escalated. On the day she disappeared, Michael had lured Susan under the pretense of helping her with a work project. Susan, cautious but trusting, agreed to meet him. At first, everything seemed normal, but as the meeting progressed, Michael's controlling behavior became evident. When Susan resisted, he lost control. In a moment of violent obsession, Michael killed Susan and attempted to cover his tracks meticulously. He wiped evidence, left no trace, and for decades his crime remained hidden. The breakthrough came from modern DNA techniques. Scientists matched forensic evidence from the scene to Michael, unraveling a case that had remained cold for 35 years. Michael Trent was arrested and charged with murder. During the trial, details of his obsession and planning were revealed. His behavior, once hidden behind politeness and normalcy, shocked everyone who had known him. For Susan's family, the arrest was a mix of relief and grief. The long-awaited truth brought closure, but could never undo the pain. Decades of unanswered questions, sleepless nights, and haunting what-ifs finally found answers. "We finally know what happened," her mother said. But nothing can bring Susan back. Susan's story serves as a reminder. Obsession can lurk behind ordinary appearances, and justice, even when delayed, eventually arrives. Susan Knorr's life was stolen too soon, but her name will never be forgotten. Her story warns us about hidden dangers, teaches the value of persistence, and proves that truth cannot be buried forever. Crimes may remain hidden, but justice has a way of finding its path, even decades later.